to both of them. Simone stared at it, then at her husband Trevor, who couldn't meet her eyes. Her beautiful dark skin felt cold despite the summer heat. Something was very wrong. "I need to tell you something," Trevor said, his voice shaking. "I went to the doctor today." Simone set down her work bag slowly. After 10 years of marriage, she knew when he was about to drop a bomb. Her heart started racing, but she kept her face calm. "What's going on?" "I have an infection. A sexually transmitted infection." The words tumbled out fast like he wanted to get them over with. "I got it on my business trip to Atlanta last month." The room tilted. Simone gripped the counter. "You got an STD. On a business trip." "I made a mistake. A huge mistake." Trevor ran his hands through his hair. "I met someone. We had a few drinks and things happened. I'm so sorry, baby. It was one stupid night." One stupid night. Simone felt like she was watching this happen to someone else. Her mind started working through the implications. If he had an infection, she might have it too. The thought made her stomach turn. But something else in his words caught her attention. "You said you went to the doctor today. How long have you known about this?" Trevor looked at the floor. "I started having symptoms 2 weeks ago. I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you." 2 weeks. He'd been sleeping in their bed, kissing her goodbye every morning, acting normal while hiding the secret. Simone's hands clenched into fists. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to make him hurt like she was hurting. Instead, she took a breath. "You need to tell me everything. Right now." Her name is Amanda. She works for the consulting firm we partnered with in Atlanta. We had dinner meetings and she was friendly. The last night of the trip, we went to a hotel bar. I had too much to drink. We ended up in her room. Trevor's voice cracked. "I swear it was just that one night. I never saw her again after the trip." Simone felt tears building, but she blinked them back. Crying could come later. Right now, she needed information. "Have you been tested for everything? HIV? Hepatitis?" "Yes." The doctor ran a full panel. "It's chlamydia. It's treatable with antibiotics. Nothing permanent." He said it like that should make her feel better. "I need to get tested too." The words came out flat, emotionless. "I know. I'm so sorry I put you at risk. The doctor gave me antibiotics, but..." Trevor pulled out another envelope from his pocket. "The treatment is expensive. And with your insurance being better than mine, I was thinking you could cover it. You handle our finances anyway." Simone stared at him. This couldn't be real. Her husband just confessed to cheating on her, potentially giving her a disease, and now he wanted her to pay for his treatment? The absolute nerve of this man standing in front of her made something shift inside her chest. "You want me to pay for the treatment? For the STD you got from cheating on me?" "I know how it sounds," Trevor said quickly. "But you know I'm between projects right now. Money is tight. And you just got that bonus at work. We're married, so we share expenses, right? What's mine is yours. What's mine is yours." How many times had she heard that over the years? Usually when Trevor needed something. Never when it came to credit for her success or recognition for her work. Simone had been the primary earner for the last 3 years, ever since Trevor's consulting career became more talk than actual work. She looked at the man she'd married a decade ago. They'd met in college, both full of dreams. He'd been charming, ambitious, always talking about the business he'd built. Simone had supported him, believing in his potential. She'd taken the stable job at the insurance company, telling herself it was temporary. She'd cover the bills while he got his consulting business off the ground. Except his business never quite took off. There were always reasons. The market wasn't right. Clients weren't serious. He needed more time. Meanwhile, Simone climbed the corporate ladder, her temporary job becoming a successful career. She made good money now, managed their finances, paid the mortgage on the house she'd bought before they married. And Trevor? He took client meetings over expensive lunches she funded. He attended networking events in designer clothes she bought. He took business trips to cities like Atlanta, apparently spending his time in hotel rooms with other women. "I need you to leave," Simone said quietly. "What? Baby," I said, "I'm sorry. I know you're angry, but we can work through this. Every marriage has rough patches. Get out of my house." "Your house?" Trevor's face changed, confusion giving way to defensiveness. "We're married. This is our house. The deed has my name on it. I bought this house with my down payment before we got married. I've paid the mortgage every month since. So yes, my house." Simone's voice stayed level, but steel ran through it. "Pack a bag and go. We'll talk when I'm ready. You're overreacting. I made one mistake. You made a choice. You chose to cheat. You chose to hide it for 2 weeks. And you chose to ask me to pay for the consequences. Simone walked to the door and opened it. Leave. Now. Trevor opened his mouth to argue, then seemed to realize she was serious. He'd never seen her like this before. In 10 years, Simone had been the peacemaker, the understanding wife, the one who compromised. Not anymore. She watched him pack a bag, her mind already working. She needed to get tested immediately. She needed to check their finances and see what other surprises might be waiting. She needed to protect herself because clearly Trevor never would. As his car pulled out of the driveway, Simone finally let herself cry. But even through the tears, a cold clarity settled over her. Trevor had made his choice. Now she would make hers. And he was going to regret ever handing her that medical bill. Simone spent the night in her guest room, unable to face the bed she'd shared with Trevor. Morning came too bright, too normal, mocking the way her life had shattered in one conversation. She called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years, then made an appointment with her doctor for that afternoon. The waiting room felt like judgment. Everyone here had problems, but were any of them getting tested because their husband brought home souvenirs from an affair? The nurse called her name, and Simone followed her back, answering questions she never imagined she'd have to answer. Any new partners in the last 6 months? No. Same partner for 10 years. My husband. The word tasted bitter. The doctor was professional and kind, explaining the testing process without making Simone feel worse. Results for most tests will be back in a few days. We'll call you immediately if anything needs urgent attention. Back home, Simone made coffee and sat at her kitchen table with her laptop. She needed to understand exactly what she was dealing with. She pulled up their bank statements, credit card bills, and loan documents. What she found made her stomach sink all over again. The Atlanta trip wasn't Trevor's first. Over the past year, there had been 6 business trips. Houston, Miami, Denver, San Diego, Atlanta, and one more to Atlanta 3 months ago. Each trip showed charges at expensive restaurants, bars, and hotels. Room service at midnight. Spa services. Gifts from jewelry stores. Simone cross-referenced the dates with Trevor's calendar. None of these trips had been mentioned beforehand. He just announced he was leaving for a few days, saying it was sudden opportunities. She believed him, even felt proud that his business was picking up. Her phone rang. Trevor's name appeared on the screen. She let it go to voicemail. He called 3 more times before sending a text. We need to talk. I'm staying at Brandon's place, but I can't stay here long. When can I come home? Simone set the phone down without responding. She wasn't ready for that conversation yet. First, she needed more information. She opened Facebook and searched for Amanda. The consulting firm Trevor mentioned was small enough that she found her quickly. Amanda Westbrook, 28 years old, pretty in that corporate professional way. Her profile was mostly private, but her profile picture showed her at what looked like a conference. Simone zoomed in and felt her heart stop. Trevor was in the background of the photo, his hand on Amanda's lower back. The timestamp showed it was from the first Atlanta trip, 10 months ago. This wasn't a drunken one-night mistake. This had been going on for almost a year. Simone's phone rang again. This time it was her best friend Nicole calling. Simone answered and immediately started crying. What happened? Nicole's voice filled with concern. Through tears, Simone told her everything. The medical bill, the confession, the lies. Nicole listened, occasionally making sounds of disbelief and anger. He asked you to pay for his STD treatment? Girl, the audacity. That's not even the worst part. I found evidence of 6 trips over the last year. This has been going on for months, Nicole. While I was working overtime to hit my targets, planning our anniversary dinner, he was with her. Where is he now? I kicked him out. He's at Brandon's. Good. Don't let him come back. Nicole paused. Have you thought about divorce? The word hung in the air. Divorce. The end of 10 years. Admitting she'd chosen wrong, invested in the wrong person. But what was the alternative? Pretending this never happened? Taking him back and wondering every time he went on a trip? I don't know what I'm thinking yet, Simone admitted. Right now, I'm just trying to process everything. After hanging up with Nicole, Simone went back to her financial investigation. She opened their credit reports and found something that made her blood run cold. 3 credit cards she didn't know about, all in both their names. Total balance, $47,000. She clicked through the statements. Charges at hotels, restaurants, jewelry stores, designer clothing boutiques. Trevor had been funding his affair with secret credit cards, using her perfect credit score to get approved. The statements came to his email, which he'd never shared with her. Simone felt sick. This wasn't just betrayal. This was financial fraud. He'd forged her signature on credit applications, used her identity to get loans, and now she was legally responsible for nearly $50,000 in debt she didn't know existed. Her phone buzzed with another text from Trevor. "Please talk to me. I love you. I made a mistake, but our marriage is worth fighting for. Don't throw away 10 years over one bad choice." One bad choice. He kept saying that like it would erase the year of lies, the secret trips, the stolen money, the disease he'd brought into their home. Simone's fingers moved before she could stop them. "When you say one mistake, which one do you mean? The first time you slept with Amanda 10 months ago? Or the second time? Or the third? Or maybe you mean the one mistake of getting caught?" Three dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. "You looked her up. I can explain. You've been having an affair for a year. You've been on 6 trips with her. You opened credit cards in my name without telling me. We're $50,000 in debt because of your affair. What exactly is there to explain?" This time the response came fast. "I was going to tell you about the cards. Business has been slow and I didn't want you to worry. I was going to pay them off with my next big contract." "Your next big contract that never comes? Trevor, you've been saying that for 3 years. Why are you being so cold?" "I'm hurting too. I told you the truth about Amanda. I'm trying to be honest." Simone actually laughed, a harsh sound in the empty house. "He was hurting? He was trying to be honest? After a year of lies? You're honest now because you got an STD and had no choice. If you hadn't gotten sick, you'd still be lying. You'd still be taking trips with her. Still spending money we don't have. It's over with her. I swear. I ended it. I choose you. You don't get to choose me anymore. I'm choosing me." Simone blocked his number and went back to her laptop. She had work to do. Evidence to gather. A future to protect. Trevor had been making choices for the past year. Now it was her turn. The next morning, Simone woke with purpose instead of tears. She'd spend half the night documenting everything she'd found, organizing files, taking screenshots. Her training as a risk analyst at the insurance company was finally useful for something personal. She made a list of everything she needed. Full financial audit of all accounts, cards, loans. Evidence of Trevor's affair and timeline. Legal consultation about divorce and debt liability. STD test results. Documentation of her separate property and premarital assets. Simone started with the finances. She pulled credit reports for both of them from all 3 bureaus. The full picture was worse than she'd thought. Trevor had opened 5 credit cards over the past 2 years, not 3. Total debt, $62,000. She reviewed every statement, categorizing purchases. Hotels in cities where Amanda's company had offices. Romantic restaurants on dates that matched gaps in Trevor's calendar. A jewelry purchase for $3,000 on what would have been their 9th wedding anniversary, except Simone never received jewelry that year. Trevor had said money was tight, and they'd ordered pizza at home instead. The jewelry was for Amanda. Simone's jaw clenched, but she kept working. Emotion later. Evidence now. She found the loan applications in Trevor's email, which she'd gained access to years ago when he asked her to manage his professional correspondence. He'd never changed the password. Every application had her forged signature. He'd listed her income on the applications, using her excellent credit to guarantee approval. Simone photographed everything, saving copies to a secure cloud drive. Then she called her bank. "I need to freeze all joint accounts and remove another party's access," she told the representative. "May I ask the reason for the request?" "Potential fraud and unauthorized debt creation. I'm preparing for divorce proceedings." The representative was sympathetic and efficient. Within an hour, Trevor's access to their joint checking and savings was frozen. Simone opened a new account in her name only and transferred her direct deposit. Her phone started buzzing with calls from Trevor's number, but they couldn't get through since she'd blocked him. Then Brandon's number appeared. "Simone, it's Trevor. Please don't hang up. I told you I need space. You froze me out of our accounts. How am I supposed to buy food? Pay for gas? The same way you paid for hotel rooms with Amanda. Use one of your secret credit cards. Those are maxed out. I don't have access to any money." Good, Simone thought. Let him struggle for once. That's not my problem anymore. You created this situation. I'm your husband. You can't just cut me off. Actually, I can. Every account you had access to was in my name. The joint accounts were open with my credit. Legally, I have every right to protect my assets. Your assets? We're married. What's yours is mine. There it was again. That phrase he loved when he needed something from her. Funny how it never applied in reverse. "We'll let the lawyers sort that out," Simone said calmly. "Don't call me again unless it's through an attorney." She hung up and immediately called her company's employee assistance program. They provided free legal consultations for family matters. The counselor listened to her situation and gave her referrals for 3 divorce attorneys who specialized in cases involving fraud. Simone called the first one, explaining her situation. "You need to act fast," the attorney said. "In this state, you could be held liable for debts incurred during the marriage, even if you didn't authorize them. We need to establish fraud and prove you had no knowledge of these accounts. I have evidence. Forged signatures, statements I never received, purchases I knew nothing about." "That's good. Bring everything to our consultation tomorrow. We'll also need to file a police report for identity theft." A police report? That would make this criminal, not just civil. Trevor could face charges. Simone felt a flicker of satisfaction, then guilt at feeling satisfied. Then anger at feeling guilty. He'd done this to himself. That afternoon her doctor called. "Your test results are back." Everything came back negative. Simone closed her eyes in relief. "Everything? All negative. You're clear." One piece of good news in a terrible week. Trevor's infection hadn't spread to her, probably because they'd barely been intimate in recent months. She thought it was stress from work. Now she knew it was because he was getting his needs met elsewhere. Simone spent the evening going through their home office, looking for anything she'd missed. In Trevor's desk drawer, under old business cards and promotional materials, she found a folder marked Personal. Inside were printed emails between Trevor and Amanda. Simone's hands shook as she read them. "Amanda, when are you going to tell her about us?" "Trevor, soon. I promise. I just need to wait for the right time." "Amanda, you've been saying that for 6 months. I'm tired of being the secret." "Trevor, she controls all the money. If I leave now, I'll have nothing. I need to build up some savings first." Simone felt like she'd been slapped. He'd been planning to leave her. This whole time, he'd been using her money to prepare for a life with Amanda. The trips weren't just about the affair. They were about building a relationship with someone else while keeping Simone as the financial safety net. She kept reading, stomach turning with each message. "Trevor, once I get the promotion at her firm, I'll have enough income to support us both. Then I can leave." "Amanda, her firm? I thought you were independent." "Trevor, I am, but I've been talking to them about a full-time position. With your recommendation, I'm sure I'll get it." So Trevor had been angling for a job at Amanda's company too. Using the affair to advance his career, planning his exit strategy, all while telling Simone he just needed more time to make his business work. The last email was from 3 weeks ago. "Amanda, I'm getting tired of waiting. Either you leave her or we're done. Trevor, give me 1 more month. I promise. I love you. 1 more month." Had Trevor been planning to leave her when the STD diagnosis ruined everything? Or had Amanda's ultimatum forced him to make a choice he wasn't ready for? It didn't matter. What mattered was that Simone now had proof that this wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated plan. Trevor had been using her, planning to discard her, while spending her money to build a future with someone else. Simone photographed every page, added them to her evidence file, and felt something cold and determined settle in her chest. Trevor thought he was smart, playing both sides, keeping his options open. But he'd underestimated her. He'd forgotten that she was the one who analyzed risk for a living, who spotted fraud and deception in insurance claims every day. He wanted to play games with her life? Fine. She'd show him exactly what happened when you gambled with someone who knew how to calculate the odds. Monday morning, Simone returned to work with a plan. She'd taken Friday off to process the shock, spent the weekend gathering evidence, and now it was time to take control. Her manager noticed she seemed different but didn't pry. Simone threw herself into her work with laser focus, grateful for the distraction. At lunch, she drove to the law office for her consultation. The attorney, Patricia Brennan, was a sharp woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. "I've reviewed the documents you sent over," Patricia said, spreading papers across her desk. "This is a strong case for fraud. The forged signatures alone are criminal. Add in the affair, the financial deception, and his attempt to make you pay for medical treatment related to his infidelity, and we have multiple angles to work with." Simone felt validated hearing a professional confirm what she'd suspected. "What are my next steps?" "First, we file for divorce citing adultery and financial fraud. In this state, adultery is grounds for fault divorce, which affects asset division. Second, we file a police report for identity theft and fraud. Third, we send notice to all creditors that you dispute the debt due to forged signatures. Will I be liable for the money he spent? Possibly some of it since you're married. But we'll argue that you had no knowledge and received no benefit from these debts. The forged signatures work in your favor. We'll push to have Trevor held solely responsible, especially since the money was spent on an extramarital affair. Patricia pulled out another document. I also recommend filing a complaint with his corporate partners. You mentioned he was working with a consulting firm in Atlanta? Yes. That's where he met Amanda. If they were using company resources for their affair, traveling on company accounts, that's a violation of most corporate ethics policies. It could impact his professional reputation and his ability to claim he's owed spousal support. Simone hadn't thought about spousal support. Could he actually ask me for that? He could try. You've been the primary earner. In some cases, courts award support to the lower-earning spouse. But given the circumstances, the fraud, the affair, I think we can fight it successfully. They spent the next hour going through every detail. Patricia took notes, asked questions, built a strategy. By the time Simone left, she had a clear path forward. Step 1. File the police report. The police station felt intimidating, but the officer who took her statement was professional. Simone laid out everything: the credit cards, the forged signatures, the debt. She provided copies of all her evidence. This will take some time to investigate, the officer explained. But with this level of documentation, it's a solid case. We'll be in touch. Step 2. Notify the credit card companies. Simone spent her evening calling each company, explaining the situation, disputing the charges. Some were sympathetic. Others were skeptical. All of them required paperwork. She filled out affidavits, provided police report numbers, signed statements. It was exhausting but necessary. Her phone rang. Nicole, how are you holding up? I'm keeping busy. It helps. Have you heard from Trevor? He's been trying to call from different numbers. I don't answer. His lawyer will contact mine soon enough. Good. Don't give him the chance to manipulate you. Nicole paused. I heard something today. One of my coworkers knows Amanda Westbrook. Apparently, Trevor isn't the only one facing consequences. What do you mean? Amanda's company found out about the affair. Someone filed an anonymous complaint about personal relationships affecting business decisions. They're investigating whether Trevor got preferential treatment because of their relationship. Simone's heart raced. I didn't file that complaint. I know, but someone did. And Amanda is apparently panicking because her job is on the line. Good, Simone thought. Let her panic. Let her face the consequences of what she'd done. After hanging up, Simone continued her work. She went through her own personnel file at work, documenting every achievement, every raise, every promotion. She wanted a clear record of her career success independent of Trevor. She found performance reviews praising her analytical skills, her attention to detail, her ability to spot fraud. One review from 2 years ago noted, Simone has an exceptional talent for identifying deceptive patterns and claims data. Her work has saved the company millions. Ironic, considering she'd missed the deception in her own marriage. But that was changing. Simone was seeing everything clearly now. She noticed things she'd overlooked before. How Trevor always had excuses for why his business wasn't growing. How he discouraged her from certain promotions, saying they'd take too much time away from their marriage. How he'd convinced her to put his name on the joint accounts for emergencies, but never contributed to them. He'd been controlling her through manipulation, making her feel guilty for her success, keeping her focused on supporting him instead of building her own wealth. And she'd let him, thinking it was what a good wife did. Never again. Wednesday afternoon, Patricia called. Trevor's attorney reached out. He wants to negotiate. Already? He knows he doesn't have leverage. The evidence is overwhelming. His lawyer advised him that going to trial would be expensive and he'd likely lose. He's willing to accept a no-contest divorce. What's he asking for? The house, half your retirement account, and temporary spousal support while he gets back on his feet. Simone laughed bitterly. Absolutely not. That's what I told him. Here's our counteroffer. You keep the house since it's your premarital property. You keep your retirement account since you funded it. He gets nothing except responsibility for the debt he created. No spousal support given the adultery and fraud. Will he agree? Probably not immediately. But once the police investigation progresses and he realizes he could face criminal charges, he'll be motivated to settle quickly. That evening, Simone did something she hadn't done in years. She called her mother. "Baby girl. I haven't heard from you in weeks. How are you?" Simone's mother lived in Florida, having retired there 5 years ago. They talked occasionally, but Trevor had always made her feel guilty about spending too much time on the phone with family. "I'm getting divorced, Mom." Silence. Then, what happened? Simone told her everything. Her mother listened, occasionally making sounds of anger or sympathy. "I never liked him," her mother finally said. "He always seemed like he was using you. Why didn't you say something? Would you have listened? You were in love. You thought I was being overprotective." She was right. Simone had dismissed her mother's concerns, thinking she was being judgmental. "I'm sorry I didn't listen." "Don't apologize. You're handling this exactly right. You're being smart, protecting yourself. I'm proud of you." Those words meant more than Simone expected. She felt tears building again, but they were different this time. Not grief, but release. "Thanks, Mom. You're going to be fine, baby. Better than fine. You're going to thrive." After hanging up, Simone looked around her house. Felt different now. Not like a home she shared with Trevor, but like her space. Her sanctuary. A place where she could rebuild herself into whoever she wanted to be. Trevor had taken a lot from her. Her trust, her peace of mind, her financial security. But he hadn't broken her. And she was going to make damn sure he regretted ever thinking he could. Thursday morning, Simone received the certified mail she'd been expecting. STD test results, negative for everything. She filed the document with her attorney as additional evidence of Trevor's recklessness and the emotional harm he'd caused. Patricia had scheduled a strategy meeting for that afternoon. Simone arrived to find additional documents spread across the conference table. "The police investigation is moving faster than expected," Patricia said. "Trevor's bank records show a pattern of fraud going back 3 years. He's been using your identity on loan applications, credit cards, even attempted to refinance the house without your knowledge." "He tried to refinance my house?" "Application was denied because he needed your signature and couldn't forge the notarized documents. But he tried." Patricia slid another paper across the table. "More importantly, the police found evidence that Amanda knew about the financial fraud." Simone's eyes widened. She knew. Emails between them discussing how to maximize credit without you finding out. She suggested some of the cards he applied for. There's even a message where she jokes about you being too busy with work to notice. The betrayal cut deeper. It wasn't just Trevor. Amanda had actively participated in defrauding her. This wasn't a simple affair. It was conspiracy. What does this mean legally? It means Amanda could face charges too. Criminal conspiracy, potentially. At minimum, her involvement will come out in the divorce proceedings. Her employer will find out. Her professional reputation will be destroyed. Simone felt a grim satisfaction. Good. Patricia smiled slightly. There's more. We subpoenaed Trevor's company records. He's been billing clients for work he didn't do, padding hours, inflating expenses. His business is essentially a fraud. Most of his income over the past 2 years came from your accounts, not actual clients. So he has no real income? Correct. Which means his claim for spousal support is even weaker. He can't claim he gave up career opportunities to support you when he never had a real career to begin with. They spent an hour reviewing the divorce petition. Patricia had included every piece of evidence, every fraud, every lie. The document was damning. When Trevor's attorney sees this, he'll know fighting is pointless, Patricia said. We'll file tomorrow. He'll be served next week. That night, Simone allowed herself to feel the weight of what was happening. Her marriage was ending. 10 years of her life were being dissolved. But instead of grief, she felt relief. Liberation. The life she thought she'd wanted was actually a cage. Trevor had been holding her back, draining her resources, limiting her potential. She pulled out a notebook and started writing. Not about Trevor or the divorce, but about herself. What did she want? Who did she want to be? Career goals. Push for the senior analyst position. Take the advanced training courses. Build her expertise. Financial goals. Pay off the remaining debt. Rebuild her savings. Invest in her future. Personal goals. Reconnect with friends. Travel somewhere she'd always wanted to go. Maybe take up a hobby Trevor had always dismissed as silly. For the first time in years, Simone felt excited about her future instead of anxious about keeping someone else happy. Friday morning, Patricia filed the divorce petition. By afternoon, the news had spread through Trevor's professional network. Simone started receiving calls from people she barely knew, all wanting to know what happened. She kept her responses simple and dignified. "We're divorcing. I'd appreciate privacy during this time." But one call stood out. Jacob Martinez, Trevor's former business partner from 5 years ago. "Simone, I heard about the divorce. I'm sorry you're going through this, but I wanted to reach out. When Trevor and I dissolved our partnership, there were some financial irregularities. I suspected he was using company money for personal expenses, but I couldn't prove it. I ended up taking a loss just to get away from him." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because if you need testimony about his character and history of financial fraud, I'll provide it. He did the same thing to me that he did to you. I don't want him to get away with it again." Simone added Jacob to her witness list. More people came forward over the next few days. A former client who suspected Trevor of billing fraud. A colleague who'd lent him money that was never repaid. Each story painted the same picture. Trevor was a con artist who used charm and manipulation to take advantage of people who trusted him. And Simone had been his biggest mark. Monday brought the moment she'd been both anticipating and dreading. Trevor was served with divorce papers at Brandon's house. Within an hour, her phone exploded with calls from unknown numbers. She didn't answer. Then an email arrived. "Simone, please. We need to talk face to face. You don't understand. The police came to question me. They're saying I committed crimes. This is out of control. I made mistakes, but I never meant to hurt you. We can fix this. Please." She deleted it without responding. Tuesday, Patricia called with an update. Trevor's attorney withdrew from the case. "What? Why?" "Trevor can't pay him." The attorney realized Trevor has no assets, no income, and mounting legal problems. He doesn't want to work for free. So what happens now? Trevor can represent himself or find a new attorney willing to take him on. Either way, it benefits us. He's unprepared and desperate. The police investigation concluded Wednesday. They had enough evidence to charge Trevor with identity theft, fraud, and forgery. The prosecutor's office called Simone to discuss the case. "We're offering him a plea deal," the prosecutor explained. "If he pleads guilty and makes restitution, we'll recommend probation instead of jail time. But he has to admit to everything in court on record." "What if he doesn't take the deal?" "Then we go to trial. With the evidence you provided, we'll win. He'd face significant prison time." Simone thought about it. Part of her wanted to see him in court, wanted him to face full consequences. But another part just wanted this over. "Whatever gets me free fastest," she said. "I don't care about revenge. I just want my life back." Thursday morning, Simone received an email from Amanda Westbrook. "I know you probably hate me and you have every right to, but I need you to know the truth. Trevor told me you were separated, that you were just living together until the divorce was final. He said you'd agreed to support him financially as part of the settlement. I didn't know he was lying until the police called. I'm so sorry. I never would have gotten involved if I'd known the truth." Simone read the email twice, trying to decide if she believed it. Did it matter? Amanda had still participated in the fraud, still helped spend Simone's money, still carried on an affair with a married man. She typed a response, then deleted it. Then typed another. "I don't forgive you and I don't believe you were completely innocent. But I'm not interested in revenge. I'm interested in moving forward. Deal with your own consequences. Stay out of my life." She hit send and blocked Amanda's email. Friday evening, exactly 2 weeks after Trevor's confession, Simone sat in her home office looking at her accounts. She'd frozen the fraudulent credit cards, filed disputes on all charges, and protected her assets. The debt wasn't resolved yet, but she'd built a wall between herself and Trevor's financial disaster. Her lawyer had negotiated a preliminary settlement. Trevor would accept full responsibility for all debts in exchange for Simone dropping the criminal charges. He'd sign away any claim to her house, her retirement, her assets. He'd waive spousal support. The divorce would be final in 60 days. It was more than fair. It was victory. Simone signed the agreement and sent it back to Patricia. Then she opened a bottle of wine she'd been saving for a special occasion and poured herself a glass. "Here's to new beginnings," she thought. "Here's to choosing yourself. Here's to never again settling for less than you deserve." The glass was raised to an empty room, but Simone had never felt less alone. The corporate investigation into Trevor and Amanda's misconduct moved faster than Simone expected. 2 weeks after she'd filed for divorce, she received an email from a compliance officer at Amanda's consulting firm requesting an interview. "We're conducting an internal investigation into potential ethics violations," the email read. "Your testimony would be valuable." Simone agreed to a phone call. She explained how Trevor had used company resources for personal trips, how he'd claimed business expenses for romantic dinners with Amanda, how their affair had violated the professional boundaries the firm supposedly maintained. "We take these matters very seriously," the compliance officer assured her. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention." 3 days later, Nicole called with an update. "Amanda got fired. My coworker saw her cleaning out her desk this morning." Simone felt a twinge of something, not quite satisfaction but close to it. What about Trevor's consulting work with them? All contracts terminated. They're reviewing every invoice he ever submitted for fraud. The dominoes were falling exactly as Patricia had predicted. Trevor's professional reputation was destroyed. His business was exposed as a sham. His attempts to build a future with Amanda had collapsed. Meanwhile, Simone's life was improving in unexpected ways. Her manager called her into his office Monday morning. Simone's stomach clenched, worried that her personal drama had become a professional problem. "Simone, I wanted to talk to you about the senior analyst position that's opening up." Her heart raced. She'd been hoping for that promotion for 2 years, but Trevor had always talked her out of applying, saying it would mean too much travel and too many hours away from their marriage. "I'm listening," she said carefully. "You're our top candidate. Your work on the Hamilton fraud case was exceptional. Your analysis saved us over $3 million in false claims. The board is impressed. I'm very interested in the position." "Good. There's a formal interview process, but I wanted to give you a heads up that you're the front runner." He paused. "I also wanted to say I've noticed you seem more focused lately. More confident. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." Simone left his office fighting back tears. The promotion would mean a significant raise, more responsibility, recognition for her skills. Everything Trevor had discouraged her from pursuing. That evening, she came home to find a letter from Trevor's attorney. No, correction, from Trevor himself. He was representing himself now, unable to afford legal counsel. The letter was rambling, desperate, trying to appeal to her emotions. "Simone, I know I hurt you. I know I made terrible choices. But 10 years of marriage should mean something. We took vows. For better or worse. This is the worst part, but we can get through it together. I'm willing to go to counseling, to work on myself, to prove I can change. Please don't throw away our life together." Simone read it twice, looking for any sign of genuine remorse or understanding of what he'd actually done. But it was all self-focused. His hurt. His need for forgiveness. His desire to salvage things. Nothing about how he destroyed her trust, stolen her money, risked her health. She filed the letter with her attorney and sent a formal response through Patricia. "My client has no interest in reconciliation. Please." Family started calling. First his mother, then his sister, both trying to convince Simone to give him another chance. "Everyone makes mistakes," his mother pleaded. "He's a good man who made bad choices. Don't you believe in forgiveness?" "I believe in consequences," Simone replied calmly. "Trevor made choices for over a year. He lied, he cheated, he committed fraud. Those aren't mistakes, they're patterns. But you're his wife. You're supposed to support him." "I did support him. For 10 years. I worked while he played businessman. I paid the bills while he spent my money on another woman. I'm done supporting someone who sees me as a bank account instead of a partner." His sister tried a different approach. "Think about what people will say. Divorce looks bad. You'll be a failure. I'd rather be a divorced woman who respects herself than a married woman who lets herself be used." After those calls, Simone blocked Trevor's family. She was done explaining herself to people who valued keeping up appearances over honesty and respect. Meanwhile, the criminal case against Trevor was progressing. The prosecutor updated her weekly. "He's trying to negotiate the plea deal. Wants the charges reduced to misdemeanors." "Is that possible?" "Not with this level of fraud. The dollar amount is too high. Best we can offer is felony conviction with probation instead of prison time." "What happens if he doesn't take the deal?" "We go to trial. With your testimony and all the evidence, we'd win. He'd likely serve 2 to 3 years." Simone thought about what she wanted. Prison seemed harsh, but then again, Trevor had shown no real remorse. Just regret at being caught. "Let him decide," she told the prosecutor. "I'll testify if needed, but I'm not pushing for the harshest punishment. I just want him to face real consequences and leave me alone." 2 weeks later, Trevor took the plea deal. He stood in court and admitted to fraud, forgery, and identity theft. The judge sentenced him to 5 years probation, 300 hours of community service, and full restitution of all money stolen. Simone attended the hearing, sitting in the back of the courtroom. Trevor looked small, defeated, nothing like the confident man she'd married. When his eyes found hers, she saw him mouth, "I'm sorry." She looked away. Too little too late. The divorce settlement was finalized the same week. Trevor signed away all claims to Simone's property and assets. He accepted full responsibility for the $62,000 in fraudulent debt. The marriage was dissolved. Simone walked out of the courthouse feeling lighter than she had in years. She was free. Legally, financially, emotionally free. That weekend, Nicole insisted on taking her out to celebrate. "You did it. You got through the worst and came out stronger." They went to a nice restaurant, the kind Simone had always wanted to try but Trevor said was too expensive. She ordered the most expensive thing on the menu and enjoyed every bite. "So what's next?" Nicole asked. "The senior analyst interview is next week. I'm preparing for that." "No, I mean personally. Are you going to start dating again?" Simone laughed. "Are you kidding? I just got divorced from a man who lied to me for a year. I need time to trust my own judgment again." "Fair. But don't close yourself off completely. Not all men are like Trevor." "I know. But right now I'm focused on me. On rebuilding. On remembering who I am when I'm not trying to hold someone else up." Nicole raised her glass. To Simone. "The strongest woman I know." They clinked glasses, and Simone felt truly happy for the first time in longer than she could remember. The future was uncertain, but it was hers. No one was controlling it, spending her money, lying to her face. She was free to become whoever she wanted to be. And that was worth celebrating. Monday morning, Simone walked into her office building with her head high. The divorce was final. The debt was Trevor's problem now. The criminal case was closed. She was starting fresh. Her colleague James stopped her by the coffee machine. "I heard about your divorce. I'm sorry you went through that." "Thank you. But honestly, I'm better off. You seem different. More confident." Simone smiled. "I feel different." It was true. Over the past 2 months, she discovered parts of herself she'd forgotten existed. The woman who loved challenging work. The woman who spoke her mind. The woman who didn't shrink herself to make someone else comfortable. The senior analyst interview went better than expected. Simone presented her work on fraud detection with confidence, answered technical questions with precision, and spoke honestly about her goals for the department. "We need someone who can spot deception and build airtight cases," the director said. "Your recent work has shown exceptional skill in both areas." Simone thought about the irony. She'd spent months analyzing her own life for fraud, building evidence against Trevor. That painful experience had sharpened her professional skills. 3 days later she got the call. "The position is yours if you want it." "I do." "Absolutely." The promotion came with a 40% raise and a leadership role. Simone would manage a team of analysts, develop new fraud detection protocols, and represent the company at industry conferences. She called her mother with the news. "I'm so proud of you, baby. This is what you deserve." "Thanks, Mom. It feels good to be recognized." "Are you taking care of yourself? Eating properly? Getting enough rest?" Simone laughed. Her mother's constant worrying was actually comforting. "Yes, Mom. I'm taking care of myself. Actually, I joined a gym. Started going to yoga classes." "Yoga? You never exercised when you were married." "Trevor always said it was a waste of money. Said I should just run outside for free." Simone realized how many small ways he'd controlled her. "But I like yoga. It helps me think clearly." "Good. Keep doing things that make you happy." After hanging up, Simone looked around her office, soon to be upgraded to a bigger space with a window. She'd earned this through hard work and talent. No one had given it to her. No one could take it away. That weekend, she did something else Trevor had always dismissed. She booked a trip to Paris. She dreamed of going since college, but Trevor said it was too expensive, too frivolous, not practical. Simone didn't care about practical anymore. She wanted to see the Eiffel Tower, walk through the Louvre, sit in a cafe and people watch. She wanted to do something purely for herself. She spent hours researching hotels, making reservations at restaurants, planning her itinerary. The excitement felt foreign but wonderful. Nicole noticed the change in her. "You're glowing. What's going on?" "I'm going to Paris. By myself. For a week." "That's amazing." "When?" "Next month. I have vacation days I never used because Trevor always wanted to visit his family instead." "His family who's been harassing you to take him back?" Simone's smile faded. "They stopped calling after I blocked them. But yeah, them. You're better off without all of them." At work, Simone started implementing changes immediately. She reorganized the fraud detection system, trained her team on new analysis techniques, and streamlined their reporting process. Her team responded well to her leadership. "You're really good at this," one analyst told her. "You explain things clearly and you trust us to do good work." "That's because I do trust you. We're a team." It was a different approach than Trevor's business style, which had been all talk and no substance. Simone actually knew what she was doing, respected her colleagues, and delivered results. She also reconnected with friends she'd lost touch with during her marriage. College roommates, former co-workers, people Trevor had subtly discouraged her from spending time with. One friend, Brenda, was particularly direct. "I'm glad you left him. I never liked how he talked down to you." "He talked down to me?" "Constantly. Making jokes about you being too logical, too focused on work. Like your career was less important than his non-existent one." Simone hadn't noticed at the time. Or maybe she had but convinced herself it was just teasing. Looking back with clear eyes, she saw the pattern. Trevor had been undermining her confidence for years. But that was over now. She started attending professional development workshops, networking events, industry conferences. Places Trevor had told her were boring and unnecessary. Turns out they were valuable and she enjoyed them. At one conference, she met a woman named Diane who ran a consulting firm specializing in corporate fraud prevention. "Your presentation on pattern recognition was brilliant," Diane told her. "Have you ever thought about consulting work?" "Not really. I like my job." "Keep it in mind. If you ever want to branch out, call me. I could use someone with your expertise." Simone took her card, feeling valued in a way Trevor had never made her feel. These people saw her skills, her intelligence, her worth. They didn't see her as a bank account or a safety net. One evening, she ran into Brandon, Trevor's friend who'd let him stay after Simone kicked him out. "Hey Simone. How are you?" "I'm great actually." Brandon looked uncomfortable. "Listen, about Trevor. I don't want to talk about him. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't know what he was doing. If I'd known about the affair and the money stuff, I wouldn't have helped him." Simone softened slightly. "It's not your fault. Trevor is good at hiding who he really is. He's struggling now. Lost his business, can't find work because of the criminal record. He asks about you sometimes. I hope he figures his life out. But that's not my problem anymore." Walking away from that conversation, Simone felt no guilt. She'd spent enough years worrying about Trevor's feelings, Trevor's career, Trevor's dreams. He'd made his choices. Now he could live with them. She had her own life to build. The Paris trip was everything she'd hoped for. She explored museums, ate amazing food, practiced her terrible French with patient locals. She felt independent, capable, alive. On her last night, sitting at a cafe near the Seine, she wrote in her journal, "A year ago I thought my life was falling apart. My marriage was ending, my finances were destroyed, my trust was shattered. But looking back, that was the beginning of something better. I'm stronger now. I know my worth. I won't settle for less than I deserve ever again." She closed the journal and watched the city lights reflect on the water. Tomorrow she'd fly home to her new job, her new life, her new self. Trevor had taken a lot from her. But in losing him, she'd found herself. And that was the greatest gift anyone could receive. Simone returned from Paris refreshed and energized, ready to tackle the final legal loose ends. Patricia had been busy in her absence, finalizing the financial settlements and ensuring every fraudulent account was properly documented. "We've got a court date for the debt resolution hearing," Patricia informed her at their meeting. "This is where we prove you weren't responsible for Trevor's spending." The hearing took place on a gray Tuesday morning. Simone arrived early, dressed in a sharp navy suit that projected confidence and competence. Trevor sat on the opposite side of the courtroom with a court-appointed attorney, looking worn and defeated. The judge reviewed the evidence. Forged signatures on credit applications, emails proving Simone had no knowledge of the accounts, bank statements showing she never benefited from the fraudulent spending. "This is one of the clearest cases of identity theft within a marriage I've seen," the judge stated. The defendant used his wife's excellent credit to fund an extramarital affair while she worked to support their household. Trevor's attorney tried to argue that marital debt was shared responsibility, but the evidence was overwhelming. The court finds that the defendant, Trevor Washington, is solely responsible for all debts incurred through fraudulent means, the judge ruled. The plaintiff, Simone Bennett, is absolved of all liability for these accounts. Furthermore, the defendant is ordered to pay restitution to the plaintiff in the amount of $43,000 for money withdrawn from joint accounts without her knowledge or consent. Simone felt her shoulders relax. The debt that had hung over her head for months was gone. More than that, Trevor owed her money. Money she'd worked hard for and he'd stolen. How will he pay me back? She asked Patricia afterward. He has no income. The court will garnish any wages he earns. It might take years, but you'll get your money back eventually. Patricia smiled. More importantly, your credit is protected. You can move forward without his financial disaster dragging you down. The victory felt sweet but also final. This was truly the end of her marriage and all the damage Trevor had caused. At work, Simone continued to excel. Her new position gave her opportunities to showcase her skills at a higher level. She presented at a national conference on insurance fraud, sharing techniques she developed for spotting deceptive patterns. A reporter from an industry publication interviewed her afterward. Your methods are impressive. What inspired you to specialize in fraud detection? Simone considered lying, giving a professional answer. But she decided on honesty. Personal experience, actually. I went through identity theft in my own life. It taught me how deception works, how people hide their actions, and how to find the truth buried in financial records. The article ran the following month with the headline, Top Analyst Turns Personal Pain into Professional Excellence. Her company loved it. Her manager mentioned it was generating positive attention for their department. Trevor, meanwhile, was struggling to find any work. His criminal record made him unemployable in consulting. He tried retail jobs, food service, anything that would hire him. According to mutual acquaintances, he was living in a small apartment, working part-time at a grocery store. Simone felt no sympathy. He built his life on lies and shortcuts. Now he was facing the reality that actions have consequences. One afternoon, she received a voicemail from an unknown number. Simone, it's Trevor. Please don't delete this. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I need help. I'm about to be evicted. I can't pay my rent. I know I hurt you, but could you possibly loan me some money? Just until I get back on my feet. I'll pay you back, I promise. The audacity was almost impressive. After everything he'd done, he still thought she'd give him money. She forwarded the voicemail to Patricia. Does this violate the no-contact order? Technically, yes. Want me to file a motion? Simone thought about it. No, it's not worth the effort. But save the recording in case we need it later. She blocked the number and moved on with her day. Her personal life was improving too. She'd started dating casually, nothing serious, just enjoying getting to know new people. One man, Charles, was particularly interesting. He was a high school teacher, patient and kind, with a great sense of humor. I appreciate that you're upfront about being divorced, he said over coffee. Some people hide that stuff. I spent enough time with someone who hid things. I'm done with dishonesty. Charles nodded. Bad divorce. He cheated, committed fraud, gave me an STD scare. So yeah, pretty bad. And you still believe in dating? That's brave. Simone smiled. I believe in not letting one terrible person ruin my ability to connect with good people. They dated for a few months, casually and comfortably. It didn't develop into anything serious, but it helped Simone realize she could trust again. Not everyone was like Trevor. Some people were honest, respectful, and genuine. Meanwhile, the credit card companies were going after Trevor for the fraudulent charges. Each company filed civil suits against him. He couldn't pay, so judgments were entered against him. His credit was destroyed. Simone's credit, meanwhile, had recovered completely. All the fraudulent accounts were removed from her report. Her score was higher than ever. She bought a new car, something she'd wanted for years but Trevor said was unnecessary. A sleek sedan with all the features she wanted. She paid cash, having rebuilt her savings with her new salary. 1 year after Trevor's confession, Simone hosted a dinner party for her closest friends. Nicole, Brenda, some colleagues from work, her mother who flew in from Florida. To Simone, Nicole raised her glass. The strongest woman I know. You took the worst situation and turned it into a triumph. Everyone cheered. Simone felt genuinely happy, surrounded by people who valued her for who she was. I couldn't have done it without all of you, she said. Thank you for supporting me through the hardest year of my life. Her mother hugged her afterward. I'm so proud of how you handled everything. You didn't let bitterness consume you. You focused on building something better. I learned that the best revenge is living well, Simone replied. Trevor wanted to use me and throw me away. Instead, I'm thriving and he's struggling. Not because I destroyed him, but because he destroyed himself. That night, after everyone left, Simone sat in her living room, looking at her life. She had a job she loved, friends who supported her, financial security, peace of mind. Everything Trevor had tried to take from her, she'd built back stronger. Her phone buzzed with an email. The subject line read, Job opportunity. It was from Diane, the consultant she'd met at the conference months ago. Simone, I've been following your career. I'm expanding my firm and need a partner who specializes in fraud detection. The salary would be substantial and you'd have equity in the company. Interested in discussing? Simone read the email twice. A partnership. Equity. Building something that was truly hers. She'd think about it. But the fact that opportunities like this were coming her way proved she'd made the right choice. Leaving Trevor wasn't the end of her life. It was the beginning of something far better. 6 months later, Simone stood in her new office, looking out at the city skyline. She'd accepted Diane's partnership offer after careful consideration and negotiation. The risk had paid off spectacularly. Bennett and Associates Fraud Consulting was already getting attention in the industry. Simone's reputation for thorough analysis and her ability to spot deception made her a sought-after expert. Companies hired them to investigate internal fraud, test security systems, and train employees on risk detection. We got the contract with the hospital system, Diane called from her office. They want us to audit their entire billing department. Simone smiled. It was a huge contract worth over $200,000. Her share would be significant. I'll start putting together the team, she replied. She'd hired 3 analysts, all women she'd worked with previously who shared her commitment to excellence. They were building something special, a firm where talent was valued and honesty was mandatory. Her personal life had also evolved in unexpected ways. She'd met someone new, Gabriel, at a charity fundraiser. He was an architect, creative and thoughtful, with a calm demeanor that balanced her analytical intensity. You're different from anyone I've dated, he told her on their 3rd date. Different how? You know exactly who you are and what you want. There's no games, no pretending. It's refreshing. Simone appreciated his honesty. They'd been dating for 3 months, taking things slow, building genuine connection based on mutual respect. One evening, Gabriel cooked dinner at his apartment. As they ate, he asked about her past. You've mentioned being divorced but never talked about what happened. If it's too painful, you don't have to share. Simone considered how much to reveal. My ex-husband had an affair, committed fraud using my identity, and tried to make me pay for medical treatment for an STD he got from his mistress. The marriage ended badly. Gabriel set down his fork. That's horrible. I'm sorry you went through that. It was the worst experience of my life. But it also taught me what I won't tolerate. I'll never again be with someone who lies to me, uses me, or takes me for granted. That's fair. For what it's worth, I'm not that guy. I believe in honesty even when it's uncomfortable. I can tell. It's one of the things I like about you. They continued dating, building something healthy and real. Simone didn't rush into commitment, but she allowed herself to be open to the possibility. Meanwhile, Trevor's situation had deteriorated further. Through mutual acquaintances, Simone heard he'd been evicted from his apartment and was staying with various friends. His part-time job barely covered his basic expenses, and the court-ordered restitution payments were automatically deducted from his paychecks. Amanda had also fallen far. After being fired, she'd struggled to find work in her field. Her involvement in the fraud had become known in the industry. She'd moved back to her hometown, taking a job at a local company for a fraction of her previous salary. Simone felt no satisfaction in their suffering. She'd moved beyond caring about what happened to them. They were footnotes in her past, not factors in her present. One afternoon, she received an unexpected visitor at her office. A woman in her 30s, professionally dressed, looking nervous. Are you Simone Bennett? Yes. How can I help you? My name is Rachel. I'm going through something similar to what you experienced. My husband has been having an affair and I found out he's been using my credit. A friend suggested I talk to you. Simone invited her in and listened to her story. It was heartbreakingly familiar. The lies, the financial betrayal, the shattered trust. What did you do? Rachel asked. How did you get through it? Simone spent an hour sharing her experience, the legal steps she'd taken, the emotional journey, the eventual triumph. She gave Rachel her attorney's contact information and offered practical advice about protecting her assets. Thank you, Rachel said, tears in her eyes. I felt so alone. Hearing that you survived this and built something amazing gives me hope. After Rachel left, Simone realized she could help other women in similar situations. She started volunteering with a women's support organization, sharing her expertise on financial fraud within marriages and helping victims navigate the legal system. The work was fulfilling in a way she hadn't expected. Turning her painful experience into help for others gave it new meaning. Her business continued to grow. They hired 2 more analysts and moved to a larger office. Simone's name became known as the go-to expert for fraud detection. She was invited to speak at conferences, quoted in articles, respected in her field. 2 years after her divorce, Simone threw herself a party. Not to celebrate the divorce, but to celebrate who she'd become. "You're inspiring," her mother said. "You took the worst betrayal and turned it into fuel for success." "I had good support," Simone replied, looking around at her friends and colleagues. "And I refused to let one person's bad choices define my future." Gabriel pulled her aside. "Can we talk?" They stepped onto the balcony. The city lights sparkled below them. "I know we've been taking things slow," he began. "And I respect that. But I need you to know I'm serious about you. About us. I'm not going anywhere." Simone felt warmth spread through her chest. "I'm serious about you too. I'm not asking you to rush into anything. I just want you to know where I stand." She kissed him, feeling grateful for his patience and honesty. This was what a real relationship looked like. Mutual respect, clear communication, genuine care. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Simone reflected on her journey. 2 years ago she'd been devastated, broke, and betrayed. Now she owned a successful business, had healthy relationships, and had found peace. Trevor had tried to break her. Instead, he'd freed her. She pulled out her journal and wrote, "Today I celebrated becoming the person I was always meant to be. Strong, successful, surrounded by love." The woman who was married to Trevor could never have imagined this life. But the woman who survived him? She knew exactly what she was capable of. And she built something beautiful. Simone closed the journal, feeling complete. The past was truly behind her. The future was bright. And she was exactly where she belonged. 3 years after her divorce, Simone was at an industry awards dinner when her phone buzzed with an email from Patricia, her attorney. "Need to discuss something important. Call when you can." Simone excused herself from the table and called from the lobby. "What's going on? Remember Trevor's case? Something new has come to light." Patricia's voice was serious. "The prosecutor called me today. They've been investigating Amanda's former employer and found something significant." Simone's heart raced. What did they find? Evidence that Trevor and Amanda had been planning something much bigger than we realized. They weren't just having an affair. They were plotting to frame you for corporate theft. The words didn't make sense at first. What? Amanda had access to her company's financial systems. Trevor had been consulting for them. Together, they planned to embezzle money from the company and make it look like you did it. They were going to use your credentials, your reputation in fraud detection, to claim you'd helped them develop an untraceable theft scheme. Simone felt cold. Why would they do that? Your insurance policy. You had a $2 million life insurance policy through your job. Trevor was the beneficiary. If you went to prison for corporate theft, the policy would have paid out because the company would have terminated you for criminal activity. Trevor and Amanda would split the money and disappear. Simone couldn't breathe. They'd planned to destroy her life, send her to prison and collect insurance money? How did you find this out? The prosecutor found encrypted emails between them on a backup server. They'd been planning this for over a year. The STD diagnosis ruined everything. Trevor panicked and confessed to the affair because he thought you'd get tested and figure it out anyway. But he never told you the rest. They were going to frame me for a crime I didn't commit. Yes, and they almost pulled it off. If you hadn't discovered the affair when you did, if you hadn't gathered all that evidence, they might have succeeded. Your documentation saved you. Simone sat down on a lobby chair trying to process this information. All this time, she'd thought Trevor was just a cheating husband who stole money. But he'd been planning something far more sinister. What happens now? The prosecutor wants to bring additional charges against both of them. Conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft with intent to imprison, insurance fraud. These are serious federal crimes. They're looking at significant prison time. Do I have to do anything? Just testify about the timeline, your finances, your job. The rest of the evidence speaks for itself. After hanging up, Simone sat in the lobby for a long time, processing this revelation. Trevor hadn't just betrayed her. He'd been willing to destroy her completely, to send her to prison, to steal everything she'd worked for. And she'd almost loved him through it. The trial took place 6 months later. Simone sat in the courtroom watching as the prosecutor laid out the evidence. Emails between Trevor and Amanda discussing the theft plan. Documents showing how they'd mapped out Simone's work schedule, her access to company systems, her professional reputation. They chose her because she was successful, the prosecutor explained. Her expertise in fraud detection gave their plan credibility. Who would suspect the expert of committing the very crime she was trained to prevent? Trevor looked smaller than Simone remembered, hunched in his seat, avoiding eye contact. Amanda sat beside her attorney, tears streaming down her face. The prosecutor called Simone to testify. When did you first discover your husband's affair? When he confessed after contracting a sexually transmitted infection. Did you have any knowledge of his financial fraud at that time? No. I discovered that when I started investigating our accounts after his confession. Did you ever know about his consulting work with Amanda's company? He mentioned it, but I didn't know the details. I was focused on my own career. Were you aware that he'd listed you as a character reference on his consulting contracts? Simone's blood ran cold. No. The prosecutor displayed a document. This is a consulting agreement Trevor signed. It lists you as a professional reference who can vouch for his expertise in fraud prevention. Did you ever provide such a reference? Never. I didn't even know he was claiming expertise in fraud prevention. He used your reputation to get hired, then planned to use your credentials to commit fraud and frame you for it. The jury looked horrified. So did the judge. The defense attorneys tried to create doubt, suggesting the emails could have been taken out of context, that Trevor and Amanda were just discussing hypothetical scenarios for a consulting project. But the evidence was overwhelming. Bank account numbers that matched Simone's company. Detailed timelines for when to execute the theft. Calculations showing how to split the insurance money. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Trevor received 8 years in federal prison. Amanda got 6 years. Both were ordered to pay restitution and banned from working in finance or consulting ever again. Simone watched them being led away in handcuffs and felt nothing but relief. She'd escaped something truly evil. Outside the courthouse, reporters wanted her statement. I'm grateful for the investigators who uncovered the truth, she said calmly. This case shows that financial fraud in relationships can be part of larger criminal conspiracies. I hope my experience helps others recognize warning signs and protect themselves. That evening, Gabriel held her while she processed everything. I can't believe I almost didn't leave him, she said. If he hadn't gotten that STD, if I hadn't found out about the affair, I could be in prison right now. But you're not. You trusted your instincts, gathered evidence, and protected yourself. You saved your own life. I keep thinking about all the times he called it a mistake. One bad choice. But he'd been planning to destroy me for over a year. He underestimated you. They both did. They thought you'd be an easy target. Instead, you were the one who exposed everything. Simone realized he was right. Her skill at detecting fraud, the same skill Trevor had tried to exploit, was what saved her. The irony was perfect. 1 year later, Simone stood before a crowd at a women's empowerment conference, sharing her story. I thought my life was ending when my marriage fell apart, she told the audience. But it was actually the beginning. I learned that I was stronger than I knew. That I could survive betrayal, rebuild my life, and create something better than I'd ever imagined. She looked out at hundreds of faces, women from all walks of life, many dealing with their own struggles. If you're in a situation where someone is using you, lying to you, or trying to control you, trust yourself. Document everything. Protect yourself. And know that leaving doesn't mean you've failed. Sometimes leaving is the bravest thing you can do. The applause was thunderous. After the talk, dozens of women approached her with their own stories, asking for advice, thanking her for speaking up. Simone realized this was her new purpose. Not just detecting fraud in businesses, but helping people recognize and escape personal betrayal. She expanded her consulting firm to include a division focused on financial abuse in relationships, offering free consultations to domestic violence survivors and teaching workshops on protecting personal assets. 5 years after her divorce, Simone stood in a very different place than she'd started. She owned a thriving business, had a loving relationship with Gabriel, they'd gotten engaged the previous year, and had turned her painful experience into a mission to help others. One morning she received a letter from Trevor. He was 3 years into his prison sentence. I know you'll probably throw this away without reading it, but I needed to try. I'm sorry, Simone. Not just for getting caught, but for what I plan to do to you. In here, I've had time to think about the man I became. I was never the person you thought I was. I used you from the beginning. You deserved so much better. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that you were right to leave. You saved yourself from me. I hope you built a good life. You always deserved one. Simone read the letter twice. It was the first time Trevor had taken genuine responsibility without making excuses or asking for something. She didn't write back. There was nothing left to say. But she filed the letter away, a final piece of closure on that chapter of her life. That evening, she and Gabriel had dinner with friends, laughing and sharing stories. Her mother was visiting from Florida, thrilled about the engagement. Nicole was there, celebrating her own recent promotion. Simone looked around the table at the people who truly loved her, who saw her worth, who celebrated her success. This was family. This was home. Trevor had tried to take everything from her. Her money, her freedom, her future. But he'd failed. Not because she'd stopped him directly, but because she'd chosen to value herself more than she feared being alone. She'd chosen to fight back, to gather evidence, to protect her assets. She'd chosen to believe she deserved better. And that choice had saved her life. Later, Gabriel found her on the balcony looking at the stars. "Happy?" he asked. "Completely," she answered honestly. "I'm glad you didn't let what he did close your heart." "I almost did. But I realized that would mean he won. Living well, loving again, building something beautiful, that's the real victory." Gabriel kissed her forehead. "You're amazing, you know that?" Simone smiled. "I do now." She'd learned the hardest way possible that not everyone who claims to love you actually does. That some people will use you until there's nothing left. But she'd also learned that surviving betrayal could make you stronger, that starting over could lead to something better, and that choosing yourself was never selfish, it was necessary. Trevor was serving 8 years in prison. Amanda was serving 6. And Simone? She was living her best life, proving every single day that the greatest revenge wasn't destruction, it was success. Happiness. Freedom. Peace. She'd won. Not by destroying them, but by building something they could never touch. A life filled with genuine love, real accomplishment, and absolute certainty in her own worth.